The storming of a major gas plant in eastern Algeria by an Islamist group linked to al-Qaeda has raised tensions over terrorism in North Africa. The crisis comes just days after French forces intervened in Mali, fighting an Islamist takeover of the north. But there's a growing sense that the situation in Algeria isn't something that was cooked up in just a few days in response to events in Mali.
Well, I think it was a very big shock for the Algerians and for everyone else that this group had the capacity to attack a facility of this kind, which I believe produces about a tenth of Algeria's gas production. So if they have that capacity there, it's not inconceivable they have it elsewhere. And I think what's been very clear in the last week is that not only in Algeria but in Mali itself, the Islamists are inventive about the way they're fighting. They're evolving as the conflict goes on, and they're not, by any stretch of the imagination, an easy enemy.
This is a very sophisticated operation. There's been a lot of planning over it. It's being done by a group which is separate from the AQIM group, which is in Mali, and so it's not completely coordinated. The real risk, unfortunately, is that now that the French have gone into Mali with boots on the ground, the risk is that you are going to see this inciting jihadist feelings and tensions, not only in North Africa, but also in the region generally. This is exactly what happened to the British and the Americans when they went into Iraq in 2003, that when they went in, if you like, they were trying to deal with what they thought was the problem of Saddam's WMD, but they then knocked up a kind of hornet's nest of jihadism right around the West.
And it's the fear of kicking over another hornet's nest that's worrying the United States. The last thing Barack Obama wants in his second term as president is another Afghanistan.
The Americans are keen, particularly in the Obama second term, to move away from intervention. They were not that keen on getting involved in Libya, as you will recall. They're trying to get out of Afghanistan and leave a very light footprint by next year, by 2014. The appointment of Chuck Hagel, who's a determined non-interventionist who wants to actually cut back the Pentagon, the appointment of him as Defense Secretary, all these send signals that President Obama wants to concentrate in his second term on domestic rebuilding. He doesn't want to be another interventionist president.
But if events in Mali and Algeria lead to increased jihadist terrorism against Western interests, there may come a point where Obama has to turn back to intervention.
Sometimes events catch up on you, they drive you forward. You're looking at what's happening in Syria, there is pressure to intervene there, 60,000 dead, and now you've got Mali, Algeria, the whole of North Africa looks like it could be in flames. And the Americans will be faced with the question, well, you know, can you stand aside? Do you trust the French with maybe a bit of European backing to calm this down? Or is it in America's national interest to get involved?
A year and a half after the death of Osama bin Laden in May 2011, we thought then that we had really dealt with core al-Qaeda in the West. What's happening now is you're seeing 2 or 3 major new fronts of al-Qaeda emerging in countries close to home.
There has been growing concern in some quarters that the sort of field of battle was shifting from one part of the world to another, at least to a degree, and that North Africa and indeed sub-Saharan Africa were at much greater risk than they had been before. And you've seen that in the way that various different Islamist groups have linked up, from the extremist Boko Haram sect in Nigeria to the Malian Islamists, to al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb, but also as far afield as Somalia. And there have been links developing between all these groups, and obviously that is a major concern.
There hasn't been a major jihadist terrorist attack since Mumbai in 2008. But the jihadist world will view the situation in Mali as a boots-on-the-ground intervention. And after 5 or 6 years where the West thought the jihadist and al-Qaeda problem might be receding, 2013 looks like it could be a year when it comes back. Daniel Garrahan, Financial Times.